Welcome to the Doo-Doo Divas Smells Like Money podcast. I'm your host, Suzan Chin-Taylor, CEO and founder of Creative Raven, the firm that helps wastewater industry contractors and manufacturers unlock the power of digital marketing, AI, and PR to boost sales and opportunities. Whether it's through our online marketing and lead generation programs or providing a fully outsourced marketing department, we are passionate about helping businesses in the wastewater and civil infrastructure sectors not just survive, but thrive in today's digital world. Each episode, I'll be bringing you expert tips and strategies to help you grow and succeed. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Doo-Doo Divas Smells Like Money podcast. Today, we are visiting with Brent Hershey, who is the owner of Tri-County Water Services. So welcome to the show, Brent.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, Brent and I met on LinkedIn, as you know, my favorite platform for meeting people in this industry.
Yep.
And we recently interviewed him for an upcoming article for Plumber Magazine. And what came out of that conversation was an interesting topic that I really wanted to bring on the show. And it's about the benefits of perhaps setting your business, if you are a service business, a plumber, septic service, trenches, whatever, the model of service contract.
Yeah.
And so before we get tactical, I'd like, to back up a little bit about what problem were you seeing, maybe not so much in the industry, but for your business itself that convinced you or made you think that, being that in this, what I call reactive service model. Someone has a problem, you go out, you fix it, okay? To that, this isn't good enough, and maybe I need to do something a little bit different.
Yeah, sure. Well, again, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, and hopefully I can learn something as well, but I'm happy to share with what I do know about this industry. And it's funny, all innovation in my life has come out of pain points. And as they usually do, and they probably should. For me, one of the big ones growing a business is cash flow. Cash is king, and it's the blood of a business. There's profitability and cash flow, but that you can have profitability and no cash flow, and you can have all the cash flow you want. You can have no profitability, and you need that cash flow, the blood, to stay alive.
Right.
And in a plumbing business, especially in the Northeast, we have freezing conditions in the wintertime, and people think, oh, why aren't you out there thawing out pipes? Sometimes, but let me tell you how much technicians like that work. The answer is not at all. It's miserable. But and there's usually a reason it froze, and once you get all those reasons buttoned up, then there's no more frozen pipes, right? So the ebbs and flows of seasonal work in the Northeast for a plumbing contractor, a septic contractor like I am, and just having to figure out, how am I going to get out of this cash flow crisis of this just up and down every year, and you'd make a little bit in the summertime, wonderful, and then the wintertime will roll around, you lose it all, or give it in payroll and just have reduced income. So that led to this idea of just like mulling around, subscription model, a contractual model of something that would come and go every year, and how to do that. And I first started doing that in water treatment. And then that led me quickly into the septic side as well. And there I got a lot of pushback from the industry. Oh, nobody wants to pay for that. But then I found all these manufacturers like Arenco or Norweco and EcoFlow, and they all want good service providers. And this equipment is very proprietary. It requires in my opinion, it's a very simple, modest training, but it does require some specific training. And it's very easy to take a service tech who's used to servicing other products and equipment and teach them that. And we decided to just push out water and wastewater recurring revenue, annual maintenance contracts. And that has proven to be a long play, right? It's not an overnight thing, but that's been our new model. And it's been helping to take out the ebbs and flows of the cash flow.
Well, you had mentioned, that was probably that moment or that thing that kind of pushed you was, I remember when we spoke for the interview for the article, is that one of the service providers, and you just said it was looking for a good service provider. They're no problem selling it, but we don't have the bandwidth to follow up on the service in the field. And
Yeah.
there, that I see was a very unique opportunity that, we'll talk about carpe diem. You just seize that and say, yeah, now how many more manufacturers? And I guess what I'm throwing out there to the audience is, if you are using a certain technology or installing a certain technology that could be
Hmm.
proprietary, maybe not, but you become that specialist, that creates an opportunity for you to be a resource to do maybe its warranty work or
Yep.
maintenance contract, like you were saying, for
Hmm.
those manufacturers.
Yep.
So, at the core, when you talk about a service contract, what are you really promising the customer when you go out there and say, okay, sign a service contract with me?
Yeah.
First thing in someone's mind is going to be, okay, well, what's in it for me? What am I going to
Sure.
get out of that? Because you said pushback, and there's always going to be pushback. And so it's
Yeah.
always got to be that value. So what have you found gets people to say yes?
So you have to sell it there's two times where you'll best. I mean, there are the people that they're in. They're like, we bought a home, it's got this system. We want to have somebody take care of it. It's not going to be us. We're an
Right,
IT professional, we're a doctor, don't care. Someone else is going to take care of it. They mow our grass, they're going to take care of our septic system, they're going to clean our pool, and
right,
that's great. Most people, you sell it at a calamity, so they have an issue. You react to that issue, a broken pump, usually a tank alert. You show up and you say, hey, let me show you how I can never have this happen again, or let me show you how I can be proactive to this in the future, that this several $1,000 repair doesn't sneak up on you in the future. You can avoid it altogether, or prolong the life of this new pump, for the full 15 to 20 years that we think it should last here in your home. Same thing with water treatment. Now, water treatment, you can sell it when you install it. Is a great time to sell a maintenance agreement, because they just spend a lot of money, and it's like, well, you spend a lot of money on this, don't you want to take care of it? The other nice thing about water treatment is, it's a diminishing product. So, or it could be a depleting mineral. For example, our acid neutralizer tanks have calcite inside of them. Well, that calcite depletes. You have to replenish it. We call it rebedding the tank. So that's an easy one. They need to have contact time, and they have to have a certain amount of calcite in there. It's an easy sell. And so you kind of sell the idea that, like, look, if you don't take care of it, you won't have treated water. So why would you put this in the first place? And so that one's a little bit easier. If you get the sale of the equipment, you can typically sell them on the maintenance as well. Septic, they install the new system. If you can catch them at that intersection, that's a great time. They just spent 20, 30, $40,000 on a septic system. Hey, why not spend a few $100 a year and have somebody come out and inspect it, clean it, and report to you annually, right? And be proactive about it. And so the concept of being, again, my favorite 2026 word, proactive, has been our new motto of saying, hey, we want to be a proactive service company. We still do reactive. We love reactive. Reactive helps pay the bills, and reactive, but we'll ultimately try to turn that into then a proactive customer. And then the concept with that too is, in theory, if I have a bunch of maintenance contracts, my sales and marketing will look a lot different than if I'm relying on new septic installations, pump outs, and what we call reactive service, and trying to find that reactive service the moment it becomes available, which is when you have to do it, right? So again, just trying to flip that around, that it takes some of the brevity off of my guys. It takes the ebbs and flows of cash flow, and it provides us just a different model, is a different approach.
right. So, how did you start this? And I imagine there might have been like some non-negotiables for you to actually make this work. You have to run the numbers,
Hmm.
make
Yeah.
sure if I'm giving something to someone for $500 a year and a lot goes wrong, it's almost like one of those home warranty programs. It's you're
Yeah.
hedging your bet on you're almost becoming like an insurance company for that repair in a way. And anybody who's had a home service warranty, myself included, I do because I have rental properties, but it never fails that they will always find a way to
Sure.
exclude that thing that you really need repaired now, or
Yeah.
they don't have a technician available to you for 2 or 3 weeks. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but I need this now.
Right. Can't wait that long. Yeah. Nobody's
Yeah,
gonna wait that long.
exactly.
Sure.
So you're solving a problem by doing it this way. So
Hmm.
again, getting back to what were some of the non-negotiables for you in thinking about, all right, I want to set this up, but I need to set this up smart. And the reason I'm asking this question is for we may have just planted the seed into another service provider, said, oh
Yeah.
man, this guy's onto something, but you don't want to just jump in without knowing what you're getting into.
Yeah. So the game here is that you've got to get, you start out with some hundreds of these, then you're going to go into thousands of these. You need to get into the thousands to really make it pencil. So we didn't say, we said we're going to focus on this. We're not going to say no to reactive work. That'd be
Right.
foolish. We got an existing payroll. We got an existing, overhead. Everything's already in place. So but we want to focus on this. And so sales and marketing is all focused on driving these maintenance agreements. And whatever we do out there is ultimately in the concept of a maintenance agreements. And again, the more we have, then it takes the pressure off as we get farther along the road. To be clear, the annual contract is we provide a proactive service, right? We're going to inspect the system. We're going to clean it. So there's filters, pumps, housings, and J boxes, whatever we're going to do for the cleaning. And then we're going to provide a report to the homeowner. And in that report will be some recommendations, if there are any. It might be, it's time to pump. We take core samples, we sludge judge all the tank compartments every year. That gets recorded on the FMR, what we call a field maintenance report, and we make recommendations. So if something breaks, the beauty is we get the maintenance contract every year, and eventually something's going to break. Eventually they get a tank alert, something's going to happen. Now we're proactive about it. So in a lot of cases, we might know even in advance that something's coming. We can be helpful to that and save them some money, or we can lump it. Hey, we're supposed to come out next month 12 to do your maintenance. Why don't we come out month 11? Not come out, not double dip, not charge you twice. We'll clean the system, we'll fix the problem, and then we'll go 13 months next year. And people love that. So that's a way that we can help build some value too. But what I'm really excited about, Suzanne, this might be a good segue into my proactive panel. I got involved, so it's still to be more proactive, we have to have some way of monitoring. And as an Orenco rep, I've been selling their Vericom panel for years and messing around in the telemetry world. Commercial's got it pretty well figured out, but it's very expensive. But on the small homeowner side, there's a couple of SJ Ramos panels out there that connect to Wi-Fi, but it's very cumbersome because Wi-Fi, with all the security measures coming into place, we were just talking about this off air too, is kind of a pain. And so having things connected remotely, using telemetry through Wi-Fi can be, it's believe it or not, and on a thousands scale, can be a little difficult. The son buys an Xbox and now all of a sudden your wire's disconnected and because his son plugged something else into it. These kinds of things into when it comes to routers and security. So I've gotten involved with, and we'll be launching this in January, a proactive control panel. It intercepts the power of any 115 or 240 volt pump or control panel, anything electronic on a septic system or a well or a water treatment system. And it uses cell phone telemetry. So I'm not reliant on anybody's Wi-Fi, their internet, whether or not they pay their bill or not. I get to see the remote monitoring directly to me, and it also is customer facing. And so we'll know in advance of pump times, pumps running too long, pumps pulling too many amps, remote alarms. It would tell us how many alarms so we can wire right into those contacts. And it will give us that truly, it doesn't get any more proactive than that, having literally somebody watching that site 24/7, 365 for a very nominal monthly subscription fee.
Wow. Wow. That's going to be a game changer.
Yes, I agree.
Running around. So, with that coming, I'm sure your techs are going to love that because rather than have to go out and put out a fire, they have that idea of, okay, this is pretty imminent. Let's get ahead of it.
Yep. So we react, we solve the problem, we present the solution forever. Yep.
Yeah. How does your team, you've got a team of how many techs? And what do they feel about, the contract system? Do they like it?
Yeah, so when I sold it to them, let's put it that way, and I needed their buy-in. I wasn't going to just, shove this down their throats and say, please go do this now. They like the idea of this contract model because the concept is the more proactive we are, the less we should be avoiding emergencies, right? The more proactive we are, the less reactive we should need to be. My guys are all family guys, including myself. We like to spend time with our families after hours. Imagine that. And in the world of reactive service, I grew up in that world. I joke, I grew up holding a pipe wrench, reacting to leaks and alarms and repairs. They always happen on Saturday night. It always happens on,
Yeah,
it's never Tuesday morning at 8.
it's Murphy's Law.
Yeah, exactly. It's Murphy's Law. And of course you're on a date night. Absolutely. Why wouldn't you be out with your wife, who's thrilled the fact that you're taking this call about a grinder pump down? So
Yeah.
the idea that we can be proactive, the concept is we should need to, on a larger scale, we should need to be less reactive. And so my goal is that, we would hire, maybe in the larger scheme of things, maybe there's less people that need to be available. Maybe there's less inventory that would need to be stocked, saving cash, saving investment, right? Saving capital. Maybe there would be less sales and marketing because you're really only looking for a specific, very hyper focused, transaction versus plumbing and septic and all these things. And so that's the concept, is that we could do more with a little bit less, and also serve our team better while also providing a higher quality product and service to the end user. So that's my objective here, is to really take care of my guys, take care of the client, and provide a win-win there relationship wise.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit because you were saying, customers, there's a lot of customers out there. We're
Mm-hmm.
only used to calling a plumber in when something breaks.
Yep.
And so, getting back to when you said there's two ways or two times that you can sell it to them, what are some of the ways that you help them understand in a little more detail the value of proactive service?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
maybe share a little bit about some of the customers that are on your service program, what they've noticed as far as their expenditure, their experience with their system after they've been on a contract for a little while.
Yeah. The number one thing we hear back, feedback. And I want to be very clear that my team hears. So I've heard it myself, but I have an amazing team. So I want to give my nod to them, that they go out, they're kicking butt. But what they hear the most back is when they go out on the site, especially when I'm really talking about is this proprietary equipment. Okay, we're talking about alternate technology. Some states call it best available technology. Again, we're talking homes and businesses here, not
Right.
commercial. They are, or light commercial at best, but they are talking to us and they say, "Hey, I've learned more in 10 minutes talking to you than I have, for the life I've had this system." And then that was profound to me, because I'm like, "Hey, we like to think that we know what we're doing, right? And we do, but I mean, what are other people telling you? What's the industry telling you about this product, or that this treatment system that you have?" And what I quickly realized, well, or I should say, I realized over the years, has been, and I was doing this too, and there's nothing wrong with this model of installing septic systems and repairing them when they need to be repaired, and inspecting them when they need to be inspected for real estate transactions, and providing these, we'll call them traditional septic services. What few are digging in deep and saying they don't think that there's a value there. They don't think that people want this service. And I've discovered quite the opposite. And so I think that people feel like, we're more than just pumping, right? We can pump it out for you. We can clean it. We can repair it. But ultimately, we're being proactive about it. And people know they have something special in their yard. They know that this is not something that their neighbor has, or that maybe maybe there's a couple group of them because of the tough soils in that area, but they know that their brother-in-law down the road doesn't. And they want to take taken care of. And so when they find somebody that they think takes care of it well, you're in for life. Somebody told me this recently, and it's brilliant, and I actually believe it. And even though it sounds crazy, but they say, if you know 10% more about something than somebody else, they'll consider you an expert. And I thought that was very profound. I was like, oh, I think I've
Well,
heard that said different ways before, and it's kind of true. We go to the doctor and they tell us things, and later we look it up, and sure, we can confirm it, those kinds of things. But if you know 10% more than your client, or the person you're talking to on the phone, um, I tell it to my techs too, and the people answering our phones, like, you don't have to be a rocket surgeon to do this. Just we got to know more. We'll train you, we'll teach you, and let's get better. Let's continue to grow. That's one of our core values, is teachable. So we want to be able to learn more and grow with that, and we can become experts.
and I think, by and large, consumers want to know, especially if it's an expensive piece of equipment or whatnot, they'd
Hmm.
like to know maybe not how to fix it, but how can I keep this thing running? I'd like to
Yes.
know what it actually does, not
Yes.
what I called it flush and forget.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
just, we take for granted that it's always going to keep running,
Yeah.
and we
Uh,
shouldn't do that.
a,
So,
a valuable piece I learned too along the way is invite them to the show. So we call it, we
oh,
joke, we call it the dog and pony show. But when you go out to service a piece of ultimate technology, invite them to be there. Hey, I'll be, we're gonna have a tech out there next Tuesday. If you're home, he'd be happy to show you what he's looking at. And let me tell you, you will deter homeowner do-it-yourselferness no faster than you could possibly imagine. Just open up a couple tank lids and invite them to go look in them, and you will be their contract service provider forever. And they'll be happy to have you come out and handle that for them. For
right.
those do-it-yourselfers, yeah, and it builds value. And now they look at you
Sure.
differently. You're the expert. You're not afraid to get into this, and you shouldn't be. And they're happy to pay your bill because they know that you're taking care of something that they quite frankly just feel a little bit like, I don't, I'm probably not the guy or gal to take care of this right now, and they're not. Yeah.
Right. Or just thinking to themselves, well, I think I know just enough to be dangerous.
Yes, yes, that's me. I would totally be that guy. And as an ex service provider, and that would totally be me. And now that I'm getting older, I'm like, maybe I don't go on my roof as much anymore. Maybe it's like maybe I shouldn't be up there, working on this. Maybe I'll just pay somebody who actually does it for me faster and better than I can do it. So I still do what I can, of course. I like to save
Well,
money, but
yeah, I could do that,
right,
but
right,
should I?
right, right. Yes,
So
yes.
how is overall, how is this service contract model impacted you? And now how is it now that you have it in place? Because I remember you saying we had a couple hundred and now we want like thousands of these things.
Hmm.
How has it
Hmm.
changed the way that you are doing from a business perspective as an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, the way that you plan to grow and expand and run the business day to day? What types of things did you need to put in place? I would say maybe your tech stack
Hmm.
in
Yeah,
order to, hey, yeah, I've got all these service contracts. How the heck am I going to manage them so
yeah,
that things don't fall through the cracks? And I think that's something that the listeners need to know about as well.
yeah, yeah. You definitely, because the part of the maintenance contracts that's just as important as doing the work is managing the work. And if you do the work excellent but you manage it poorly, you're going to lose them. If
Right.
you manage it well and don't perform in the field, you're not going to keep them either. So it has to be that's the balance of providing that amazing annual service. So what we do, we rely a lot on technology, and it's a scary place because there's a whole pile of CRM tools out there that communicate differently than maybe we want to, and so we've had to develop it. It's been an evolving piece. I know that when we scale, uh, I'm not there yet, but another couple of years, I know that my CRM tool we will outgrow our CRM tool, and we
Mhm.
love it for now, but we know that if we had right now we have 5 techs. If we grew to 10, it would
Right.
be very cumbersome and difficult. So we have to mess with that, and as we grow and evolve, that CRM will probably shift, and it's gonna be very painful and probably expensive, and so that is a real challenge. But again, that technology, without systems and processes in place, you won't make it to a couple thousand. You can do a couple hundred probably on a basic CRM tool and a spreadsheet and your own goodwill and working with your team and stuff. But we started leveraging Trainual. Trainual.com has been a good one for us. We put all of our SOPs into Trainual, and then they can be assigned automatically to your staff and to your client or to your people, and you can make changes. It's a very handy tool for handling processes in your company. Um, we use House Call Pro for dispatch. We find it for a basic CRM tool. It's very slick. It, connects to QuickBooks Online seamlessly. It's very intuitive that way. I use Bill.com for accounts receivable and payables. Um, I lied, for accounts receivable, not for payables. We use House Call Pro. So there's been some um, automation done through CRMs and some .coms. I use Levitate for email marketing campaigns. That's been awesome and super easy. It also syncs with our CRM, so we can pull out customer data seamlessly. Gets it zapped over to Levitate, and we can market that person the basic model, though, Suzanne, looks like we have, somebody calls in, we capture that person, and we figure out what they need. But then ultimately, we have an account manager, and that account manager is a more relational type person who has a database of existing contract people, and that their job is to just every year, hey, it's me again, time for that service. We use email to automate the monthly reminders, and that will book about what we're finding about 50-60%. We'll use those links and through texting, and it's pretty easy to get them on the calendar. And that remaining 40-50, depending on the month, 40-50% of those renewals each year, you got to call them up, and track them down. We sell 3-year maintenance agreements. The idea being that we can have it for 3 years, and we lock the pricing in for 3 years. That's their advantage, and for us, we don't have to do it, remind them and renew them every year. So every 3 years we do a modest increase, keep them going up. They're not going to go down. I always joke that the cost of business does not go down, and that's how we've been handling it. I'm sure we'll have to pivot and be teachable, right? One of our core values along the way, but also along with our core values is determined and excellence. So we're gonna do whatever's necessary to keep going in that direction and keep them fulfilled and satisfied.
Well, you kind of answered the last question that I was going to ask about that. If someone is, listening to this and thinking about building a service-based business or making it part of their revenue stream, they're doing the reactive work, as you said, but thinking, oh, yeah, I'm kind of tired of riding that cash flow roller coaster.
Yep.
It can be painful as a business owner. I know how that feels. Those ebbs and tides. So ebb and flow. So what's the one thing they need to understand that I guess you would say, learning from the school of hard knocks, learn from somebody else's mistakes is the most valuable thing. What is the thing that you would share with them that they need to be aware of or prepared for before they start?
Yeah. I think we are, again, I think that traditionally, I grew up in the 90s and early O's, in the workforce, and I think that if you want to stay, I'm going to speak to the septic industry now, but if you want to stay pumper, installer, service provider, that's great. Keep doing it. There'll always be a need there. Consider adding in a maintenance program. I think what I see out in the field is my competitors, that's kind of the last thing that they want to do. They do it. They'll take care of this alternate equipment, but it tends to fall low on the I want to do it list. And so it doesn't get done well. And or at a level that, my challenge would be considering double down. What if you flipped it? And that's what we did. We flipped it around and said, we're going to make that a priority before everything else. So much so that I actually got out of installation. I don't install anymore. We have, a small excavator. We love repairs, but as far as installing a new septic system, I don't have any weather problems anymore. I don't get any red tape from permits anymore. I'm not getting held up by regulators. I'm not getting held up by homeowners. Wow. I can do a service agreement any time of the year. Doesn't matter. I can pump, clean, inspect, report, repair, minor repairs, tanks, risers, junction boxes, control panels, pumps, switches, you get the idea, all that stuff, infiltration problems. I can do all with, quite frankly, under CDL equipment. And that's been my strategy. Is it the best? It's working for me. And my challenge would be to, if you want to consider adding it, think outside the box, maybe making that a priority. Just as much as getting those pumping annual or those 3-year pumping renewals. What if you got every ATU that you had, every ultimate technology on a recurring revenue stream? Wouldn't that be awesome?
Because the market is, it's getting more and more competitive. And I know, I live in a rural area, and there's very, very few plumbers out here.
Yeah.
And it's capturing that captive audience and locking in that loyalty.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it just becomes a pricing war.
Yes, a race to the bottom, as we call it.
You've got a problem, and it's exactly, a race to the bottom. And so I guess maybe this is just an opinion question, because I see you really as a thought leader in this space. Is that, do you see that this model of service contracts is going to become an essential survival tool for businesses in this space? And do you think that companies who decide not to adapt are going to get left behind?
That's a loaded question, Suzanne. Come on.
Of course, but I love asking those loaded questions.
Well, I don't know if left behind is the answer. I do struggle to see where specifically the plumbing service industry goes. Listen, as long as there's houses, AI will not be replacing a toilet anytime soon.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
always tell my team, I say, we may be, by the time I retire, we'll probably be driven there. We'll probably be diagnosing with tablets instead of tools, but I don't think that we're going to be, somebody's going to still want a person to show up at the door, come in their house and replace the toilet. I don't think we'll have robotics of that length anytime soon. But um, I think that if you're a plumbing service company only, would be concerned about longevity. I mean, I see a lot of plumbers get involved with heating and AC because there's contracts there. That the heating industry has figured this out long ago,
Yeah, the HVAC has
and
figured this out a long time ago. Yeah,
long time ago, and that's why like everybody's like HVAC contracts. I mean, that's where it's at, right? I mean, every HVAC guy I know, that's how they made it through COVID was on their heating contracts. They're very thankful that they had them. And so that's where I was like, man, I got to figure this out. And you start looking around at plumbing contracts. That's a thing. People do sell them. They come in and it really what it is a chance for them to cross sell. They come in and they inspect and they maintenance a few small things, but uh, there's not much. That's I find that a very hard value to sell.
right.
They do exist. But I think people are getting a little savvy to that sales model too. There's been a lot of pillaging the last 20 years with some of the sales and marketing out there. And again, it's still very effective or people wouldn't do it. But and I respect that. I'm not saying it's a bad model, but I wanted to carve out some space that I could figure it out. I'm not an HVAC guy, so I didn't know that world well enough. And the septic world I got into after '08 when it dried up. The plumbing new construction dried up in '08 for me. And we got out of it. And I told Dad, I said, what if we got into septic? So I said, we have this excavating equipment for water and sewer lines. Why don't we install septic systems? And that led down this path of getting rid of all of our builders, staying with plumbing and water treatment service and installation. And then we got into the septic world. So I kind of ended up, I was like a plumber that got into septic, not an excavator that got into septic, if that makes sense. And
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what I kind of found really fascinating about your story, is that I think what you've done that a lot of business owners out of fear do not do is that you see a shift in the market. And instead of, wringing your hands and hoping, oh God, I hope it gets better. I hope it turns around. No, just saying, you know what? We need to make a change. We need
hmm
to make a change for our own survival. And
yeah,
that's what I so admired is that being open to other ideas
yeah,
and other ways of approaching your business without losing your core, without losing your core value, but saying, all right, just because this is the way we've always done it, doesn't mean
right,
this is always the way we need to continue to do it. And
yeah,
yeah, you made a great point. It's thinking that old expression, thinking outside the box, but you've really been unafraid to extend yourself and saying, okay, let's try it. What's the worst that can happen?
yeah, yeah,
But then again, on the flip side, you've seen, but what's the best that could happen if I
right,
try this?
yeah,
And
right.
that is something to really to be admired. So
Yeah. Well, that's very flattering and kind. And when you're in the thick of it, you don't see things that way sometimes. So I appreciate the
yeah,
encouragement. It's
exactly.
it's very kind. Um, the I also then I think about like 20 years from now, right? We'll be having hopefully I'm pivoting again, right? Because I think that the market does move and shift and people
Sure
want
it does.
different things. There was this whole stretch of like 24-hour 365 service for the past 20 years that a lot of companies profited on. And since COVID, which is interesting, I don't see people don't want us in their homes when they're home. It's weird. They want to stay home from work and let you in. It's like a totally different mindset, which I love. It's been really great because it makes it really easy to get into people's houses. But yeah, so it has shifted already where people, they're like, yeah, you can come tomorrow. That's cool. That's fine. Now there are the emergencies that happen and they have to be handled that same day. No water, no hot water, no sewer. But it definitely has shifted. I am hoping to stay ahead of that. The plumbing I have a harder and harder time seeing. It's very profitable, but the consistency. So without that contractual work, without the consistency, it's hard to with a group of guys. If it's just one or two guys, you can make good money as a run plumbing service, good money without working real hard, in my opinion. But when you got a crew of guys, you got to stay busy and payroll and overhead. You got to think outside the box. You got to think about how am I going to keep this money coming in every day and stay profitable, especially if we want to grow beyond this, because they're going to want more, and they should. That means you got good guys. and they should want more. So you got to feed them.
Right. Oh, well, Brent, thank you so much for all of your time today.
My pleasure.
Wisdom on this topic. I think that this, you're on to something here, and hopefully other people will see this as maybe a fit for their business and to not tread lightly, but that, like we said, it can help you survive those roller coaster moments, and
That's right.
Business is tough. And so, again, our thanks, and thanks to you listeners. Brent, if somebody would like to maybe connect with you, and you're just one of those guys, I just sense you're a pay it forward type person. If they want to connect with you and they brainstorm or mentor or whatnot, what's the best way to get a hold of you and learn more about, Tri-County Water's services?
Sure. You can check out our website. So it's tricowater.com, TRICO water.com. You can use our generic email or my email. It's at brent@tricowater.com. BRENT is my first name. So yeah, you can hit me up with an email. I'd be happy to get on a call with you, give you some insight on what I know, what I don't know. I'll be honest about both, and would love to help others, because many people have come out of the woodwork and helped me, and so it's the least I can do.
Well, thank you for that, and thank
you,
listeners, for spending your time with us. And until next time, keep it flowing. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. If you're ready to take your marketing to the next level and start increasing sales and opportunities for your business, reach out to us at Creative Raven. We're here to help you thrive in the digital landscape. Visit creativeraven.com or click the link in the show notes below to schedule a call and learn how we can support your growth. If you enjoyed the insights on today's episode, be sure to hit subscribe so you'll never miss an update. Until next time, keep growing and keep it flowing.